This is my audience. My name is Michelle, and I'm going to be doing a demonstration today on how to take care of a type 1 diabetic. My daughter was diagnosed 18 months ago with type 1 diabetes, and our lives have been forever changed since. This little bear right here from the JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research, is going to be our hungry teenager today. I'm going to go over counting carbs, checking blood sugar, giving insulin, and what to do in an emergency. Carbohydrates contents can be found on the back of packaging, and you have to add those up to get the number of total carbs in a meal, and you divide it by a ratio. My daughter's is 7, so every 7 carbs she eats, she has to take 1 unit of insulin. Some foods do not contain carbs, and they are foods such as celery, cucumbers, peppers, and cheese. Most meats and cheese don't have carbs, so they're free to eat those as much as they want. Fruit does raise a diabetic's blood sugar very fast, and this apple would be about 45 grams of carbs. This apple would be 30, and this banana would be 30. Well, it's time for our diabetic to eat lunch, so we have in our lunch water, which is no carbs, 2 slices of bread, which is 13 grams, the popcorn, which is 8 grams, the little fruities, which are 17 grams, and the mandarin is 13. That's our lunch, and that's 64 carbs. Some foods have higher carb contents. For instance, this bag of rice has 100 carbs. And this bag of pretzels has 23. So we're going to keep it simple today. We have 64 carbs. Divide that by 7, we come up with 9 units of insulin for our diabetic today. Let's start by checking the diabetic's blood sugar to see if we have to make a correction or an adjustment based on their blood sugar, if it's high or if it's low. How are we going to know exactly what we're supposed to give? So we clean the hand, check the sugar, put it on here. It's 100. We don't have to make an adjustment today. So we're going to get the insulin ready. Some diabetics can use pump therapy, where they have a pump on them all the time, or they can use a vial and syringe, or they can use a pen. I prefer the pens. They're quicker. Screw the needle tip on, prime the insulin pen. Get your patient ready, and on this bear it shows you the locations that the diabetic can have the insulin administered, and it's important to rotate those spots in case of knotting, and it can destroy the tissue. So it's important for a diabetic to rotate the spots where they give insulin. So we're going to do it on the leg today. Turn the dial to 9 units. Administer the insulin and let your diabetic enjoy their meal. One thing I want to talk about is what to do in case of an emergency. If you are out in public and you see somebody with a type 1 diabetic bracelet on, you can help them if they are unconscious by looking for their glucagon, which is a tool. It's emergency glucose for a diabetic patient. You would pop the end off, pull this back, and administer it in the thigh. Before it gets too low, and if that's the case, you can always take this frosting and rub in the diabetic's mouth so the sugar starts to absorb. My daughter in particular, call 911 if there is an emergency with a diabetic and you have to administer that. It's very important that they get to the hospital and get treated. My daughter carries around a pack with all of her stuff in it, and she'll have her little juice, which will raise blood sugar quickly, or maybe little candies. Just to recap what we talked about today, how to take care of a diabetic. We have counting carbs. We learned how to count carbs, add them together to find the insulin dose, how to check sugar, and what to do in an emergency. Thank you for attending.